does it work now? Let's look at the data. Or I hate the phrases, I think that we need to do this. I feel we're not getting enough traffic or whatever. Feelings are good and there's a place for them, but let's look at the data. Let's look at what data tells us. Numbers don't lie.
Well, hello, and welcome to season 2 of the Simple and Smart SEO Show,
the podcast for solopreneurs, service providers, and e-commerce sellers who want to learn the basics of SEO in all the places it shows up.
I'm Crystal Waddell. I help Shopify store owners go from feeling like an SEO zero to your very own SEO hero in just one day using AI, UX, and other tech ninja moves.
And I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO and case study copywriter, helping service pros increase sales without being on 24/7, using the power of SEO, story, and social proof.
Join us. We're just a couple of business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned,
as we show you how simple
and smart
SEO can be. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in.
Welcome back to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I am here with Dimitrii Kustov. He is the founder of Regex SEO, and we are about to have a whirlwind conversation about all things SEO and marketing. So are you ready to get into this, Dimitrii?
I sure am.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming. Do you want to just give us a short synopsis of who you are, what you do in the SEO world, and just anything that you'd like to share for your background?
Sure. Yeah, started dabbling in SEO way back when I was still in college, actually, early stages of college. Then over time, I was presented with the choice of trying to find a company to work for in SEO or to found my own company. So as, let's call it, not very smart young guy, decided, hey, if that guy can do it, so can I, and I can do it better. Pulled the trigger, and the rest is history. Now we are over 30 people strong. We work with mostly home services companies, but also with any other industries. We do holistic marketing at this point, meaning that SEO is definitely part of in our tool belt, but we provide every service to take a business from point A to point B, from ground zero to level 100, from the earth to the moon and beyond. So there you go.
Wow. Big promises. I love it. That's awesome. Okay. So one question I wanted to ask you just right off the bat, what is your number one SEO tip that somebody could implement today?
If you're not doing any proper data tracking, definitely that's step, not even one, that's step 0. If you already have some data tracking, then look into improving that, more granular details. The more data you have, the better decisions you can make. I don't know if it's a quote, if it's my own. I came up with this saying for one of the conferences I spoke at, and I use it all the time now. The data is not meant to be the byproduct of whatever you're doing. Instead, it's meant to be the underlying reason for whatever you do. Typically, the way businesses work is just like, we gather some data and it's the aftermath. Instead, it's meant to be you gather it first, then you make decisions, then you do strategy, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, I used to be a teacher, so I raised my hand to talk. But one thing I was thinking about, I just signed on a client this last weekend, and I was shocked that they didn't have Google Analytics set up.
Yep.
So not only did they not have any old analytics, they didn't have GA4 set up. And I had assumed that wrongly, oh my gosh, they didn't have that. They didn't have Google Search Console. And so I think that is a fantastic tip because that really is 0. That's what you need to do first. And I just posted about this on LinkedIn because I was like, look, even if you don't think that you're ready to look at the data and understand what it means, by the time you're ready, you don't have any data to look at and you can't just go back and grab it. So set it up now. And then that way, when you're ready to move forward, that you have some sort of baseline to go off of.
And you mentioned Google Analytics and Google Search Console, and there's a bunch of different tools for SEO specifically, but even on the business side, one of the conversations that I have with pretty much all of our clients, they sometimes ask, hey, how many keywords we're ranking for, or what keywords we're ranking for, and what's our traffic and all that stuff, which is all good and nice and good to have. At the end of the day, for the business though, what matters is things beyond that. Sure, you can rank for 1,000,000 keywords, but if none of them result in any traffic and therefore leads, that's really the question, right? Leads, sales, and that type of tracking is as equally important for the business world because marketing stops at lead generation. Our goal as marketers is to bring businesses qualified leads. And then after that, their sales take over, their internal processes take over. And if you don't have data on that, you're not going to understand, okay, I'm ranking number 1 for 1,000,000 keywords, but how's that affecting my business? Nobody knows. Yes, Crystal.
Oh my gosh. I think that's the trend that is shifting now. It's just facts. Just because you're ranking for a bunch of words doesn't mean that's actually going to produce customers. It's also like when you first discover SEO and you're like, okay, I want to get a bunch of traffic to my website. It's like my favorite SEO person says, Andrew Holland, he says that traffic is vanity, profit is sanity. But I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. And I am having a 3-day launch in December. So if you are listening to this in December of 2023 or before, I'm doing a 3-day launch where we're going to talk about profitability of your product and paying yourself and the different things that you have to have in place before you can really create a strategy to grow your sales. Because if you're not profitable, if you don't have systems in place that are working for you, you can't scale that. And so I just think those are some really great points that you brought up. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Happy to help.
So one of the things you were talking about just in our back and forth was this idea of data over feelings. So what does that mean?
Data over feelings is how I operate on a philosophical and everyday level. I'm a huge data nerd, and I've been told that I just think only in black and whites. So that comes very natural to me. However, when you talk to anybody in general, especially bigger companies, C-level executives, they think in the ways, oh, we used to do it this way for ages, so we're just going to keep doing it. My grandpa used to do so and it worked. Like, yeah, okay, it did. Does it work now? Let's look at the data. Or I hate the phrases when we get on a call with our clients and they say something like, I think that we need to do this. I feel we're not getting enough traffic or whatever. Feelings are good and there's a place for them, but let's look at the data. Let's look at what data tells us. Numbers don't lie. And whenever we look at performance, actually a conversation we had yesterday with a client, they were talking about growing in 2024 and how they're going to do that and all that stuff. And the question was, how many more keywords we need to rank for? And is it worth pursuing them and stuff like that? Really, at the end of the day, what we need to look at is data for cost per qualified lead from organic search in 2023. And then from there, the calculations are super, super simple. There's no room for feelings. It's okay. We know that we get you cost per qualified lead at, let's say, $100 per cost per qualified lead, and you need 100 more a month. Then it's very simple calculation. Multiply those, and therefore your budget increase should be by $10,000. And because it's historical data, it's not feelings like, oh, I think we can get you cost 100 qualified leads at $100 each. No, I know at this point. And in fact, I can predict, looking at the trend over 2023, that in beginning it was $150. In June, July, it was 125. And by the end of the year, we're approaching 100. Therefore, the trend should continue. And most likely, we're going to see even improvement. So instead of 10,000 to get 100 leads, maybe it's going to be 9,000. There you go. So there's no room for feelings in those types of situations where just because somebody told you to do so, just because I have this gut feeling that we need to invest into this type of marketing or whatever it is, it does not mean anything until there is historical data, until there is proven track record and everything that comes with it. We track everything inside and out, from SEO to paid to socials to billboards to whatever else we do. Our rule is if it's not trackable, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So what are those data points then, like specifically for organic and SEO efforts? What are the measurable data points?
So as I mentioned earlier, what matters for the business, especially, again, we work with a lot of home services businesses, air conditioning repairs, pest control, garage door installations, all of that stuff. For them, what matters is the number of qualified leads. And therefore, from there, they take it and they can calculate how many of those they sell. And then with average revenue per job, they can understand the ROI, cost to revenue, and then project going forward. So what we do it's not just SEO, it's for every single marketing activity. Our goal is to make sure that we can understand typically the following metrics. And I'll go backwards.
Okay.
Number of sold jobs, which comes through a booking rate from number of qualified leads. From qualified leads, we look at call to qualified lead rate, and that comes from number of calls directly attributed to a certain marketing activity or a channel. From there, it starts splitting into specific channel metrics. So for SEO, it would be number of, for example, visits to the website from organic search, conversion rate for organic search. Before that, in order to get traffic, we need to understand where we are ranking. So average position, visibility, percentage, things of that nature. If you were talking about, let's say, paid search, it would be like CTR, clicks, cost per click, things of that nature. Our goal is, again, because that's how I live, if it's not tracked, because really my role whenever I work with the clients, most of our clients, they don't have internal marketing team. They're fairly small companies. All of them are under $100 million. They don't have internal marketing team typically. They don't have a marketing director. So my role is to be their marketing director. And imagine this. You work in a company and you actually internal marketing director, and somebody like CEO or stakeholders or owner comes to you and say, hey, how much do we pay for cost per lead to this company? And if you say, oh, I don't know, you're going to get fired right away. So my goal is to make sure that everything we do is 100% trackable, or as close to 100% as we can. And so that whenever our clients ask me those questions, how much does it cost? What's the cost to revenue? How are performing? How the channels stack up against each other? I can actually give them a good answer and not just, oh, I feel like this. I feel like that.
That is such a great breakdown. As you were describing that, I could actually picture the tree and the branches of those things in my mind. Yeah. So it was great. Now, my question is, what about direct attributions in Google Analytics? Like, how do you quantify that?
Same thing. Direct channel is whenever people get to your website directly, typing in your regexseo.com, for example. And yes, you can't really understand 100% where they come from. However, there is a way. There is a way to give you a little bit of information. So just logically, if you think through this, when do people know your website address? There's not that many possibilities. One would be they are your existing customers. They know who you are. They use you all the time. So that's one of the ways who and how they know about your domain. And unfortunately, it's a big problem in the industry is incorrect attribution. If you do some kind of email marketing and don't properly tag it, then it could be attributed to direct. But typically, if you have proper setup, that's not going to be a huge percentage. Then things that are brand related. Now, let's say you run TV ad or some kind of banner on the side of the road. With that, typically people will not type in regexseo.com. They will actually Google the name. So Regex SEO actually in Google. And then that would not be direct at that point. And then you can break out your brand search versus not brand search in Google Search Console. For direct, we take it with a grain of salt. Also, especially in Universal Analytics, it was very easy to see multi-channel attribution. In Google Analytics 4, they kind of screwed it up. They took away the attribution models, which is horrible. Now they only have data-driven or last click, and that's it, which is one of the stupidest things ever. But at least they do have the multi-touch points in a way. It's not as good as it used to be in Universal Analytics. And what that tells you or can tell you is direct channel, was that the first click, last click, or somewhere in the middle? And then from there, you can reattribute how many clicks, calls, whatever else were actually generated truly by direct versus somebody came to your website from organic first. Maybe they bookmarked it or remembered it, and then they came back later. And then whenever you look at the business data, you can understand how many calls from direct channel were existing customers versus new customer. And that also gives you understanding of where they might have heard of you or how they remembered you. It's not 100% accurate. The main point from here is they already know you somehow. And then out of slew of all of your marketing activities, you can estimate where they could be coming from. And really, you can't say that, okay, if it's direct, all of the direct channel leads and whatever else, I'm going to attribute 90% of them to organic search. It doesn't work like that. So you treat it as its own thing. And really, it's going to be related to brand awareness. And there's plenty of other metrics and tools that track that. How many brand searches? You can look even in Google Search Console to see that breakdown. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. I noticed this when people would come from Pinterest to my account. I've always had a really hard time attributing sales to Pinterest lead. Pinterest is actually the place I get most of the leads to my site, but I'm an e-commerce seller. I make handmade goods. That's where I put most of my marketing efforts into, right? What I'm hearing you say is if I added a UTM code to those pins, it should then attribute to Pinterest.
So that's a little bit weird. We have a couple of clients that have a high share of Pinterest traffic. Mm-hmm. And in Google Analytics, it splits it normally. I forgot whatever the default grouping it falls under. But then under that, we see that it does come from Pinterest. Mm-hmm. It's also, as far as I remember, because I haven't been in Pinterest business platform in a bit, there is a field where you actually add, at least for Universal Analytics, you add your UA code, the Google Analytics UA account number, basically, and then it integrated nicely. I don't know about GIF4. Now, couple thoughts right off the top of my head for you to test is the Pinterest. Whenever you do the pins, there's a link if you need to a certain product page, whatever else, and that link can be anything. Mm-hmm. UTM tag it. I don't know if they allow short codes. That could be a way to not hide it, but make it a bit easier for users to understand. Because sometimes people look at the link and it says regexseo.com/UTM_medium equals, and they freak out. Oh, something's weird. If they allow short codes, I don't know, what are those?
Like a pretty link or something.
Like Bitly or one of those. Mm-hmm. And then you just wrap it with all of your UTM tags in there. Then there you go. That might help. I don't know if they allow it though. I don't remember. Not many of our clients use Pinterest. But yeah, there should be a way to properly tag it. And if by default traffic from Pinterest falls somehow on the direct, there is a mess somewhere for sure. Because last week I looked at our clients' Google Analytics that uses Pinterest a lot. It's about 30% of their traffic overall. And it's very clearly separated in Google Analytics. So somewhere, something's not working right on your end.
I could definitely tell the difference when, like in the statistics available in analytics versus GA4. And then there's been little blips over the year because I'm a big Pinterest follower of what they're doing. And there's been attribution issues with Pinterest over 2023. So I just noticed that my direct traffic went way up. And traffic attributed to Pinterest went way down. It was almost like an inverse relationship. So it was pretty obvious that it's like, oh, that's weird. So I'm definitely going to try those GM tags. So
yeah, GA4, I still hating it. I think they messed it up. Hopefully over time, it's going to become easier to work with it. Now, what might be happening in GA4, and again, don't quote me on this, the way they combine the sources and medias is different. Their default channel is different. And you can create your own custom groupings. That's the beauty of GA4. You can customize the heck out of it. What I would suggest is just looking if you can basically separate it out through filters, whatever it's going to be, source, medium, referral, domain, whatever else. And then after you create your own dashboard or your own grouping, maybe it's going to be right there. And
I'll discover it.
Yeah. I'm interested now. I need to look at how it's being tracked for our client in J4 because I was looking in Universal for my last report.
Let's talk just really quick about brand search and how we can maybe show up more in brand search, because I think that's probably really important in the future, and how maybe local businesses can approach that.
Okay. There's not much to it, really. Brand search is when somebody searches for a company name. And I hope you're going to show up for your own company name. In the very, very beginning of business journey, you might not, but all it takes is a bit of time, a few mentions here and there, making sure that obviously the website itself contains the mentions of your own name. The Google My Business is properly optimized for that. The Bing Places profile, same thing. And then maybe a few mentions on other websites. Big directories is where you should be anyway. Obviously depends on what business you are in, what industry you're in. But there's typical like Yelps of the world, and obviously Facebook and all of the Instagram profiles. And after that, a couple of months after you create the website and the business name, you're going to show up for your own brand name. Now, quick hack, if you need to expedite it, do a web PR. They're fairly inexpensive. I think they're about $100. And mostly it's literally only for brand name exposure. If you have a really good story, it could get picked up and could go even viral, but it has to be a really good story with a really good message and all that stuff. So yeah.
Was that a website or a company? And is that $100 a month or $100 one time?
Web PR, that's just like a press release, but it's on the web. There are plenty of different companies that do that.
Hey, loyal listener, are you a coach or consultant? Good, then this is for you. Have you ever wanted to host your own 3-day challenge to launch your high-ticket offer, but you don't know where to start? I can help you with that. Hi, I'm Rachel Spiewak, digital strategist and recent guest on the Simple and Smart SEO show, and I'm hosting a live course on building your 3-day challenge. I'll give you all the tools and support you need. Class starts on December 7th, so act fast by going to www.3daychallenge.com.
Do you have someone that you've used before that you would recommend to anyone listening right now?
We use Newswire something.com. I forgot. Just don't do the super expensive ones. It doesn't make any difference. They go to news websites and they don't live there for long. If somebody, like let's say the platform promises you 100 websites, it will publish on 100 websites. But after about a week, it will only be live on maybe 2, 3, maybe 5. Because those types of websites that are secondary news sites, they publish it for a couple of days. And if it doesn't get enough views, if it doesn't get enough attention, they kill it. So for backlink building, not a good way to get a lot of links.
After being at Brighton, the big chatter I felt like of trends for 2024 is digital PR for link building. And the people that I've spoken to about digital PR, they're using professional agencies and shifting the link building budget to a PR agency. I just wanted to make the differentiation between, okay, not all links value is the same. So that's kind of the issue here, right? If you pay $100 and maybe get some links, are those links even from quality domains?
And typically no. Now, as you said, now that you have folks coming on talking about digital PRs and stuff. And obviously PR could stay for two things, it's abbreviation for two different things, press release or public relations.
Public relations is what I was talking about.
So if it's public relations, then depending on the size of the company, it could be worth it. Like there are big companies that they have their own PR department that deals with public, but it has to be a certain size of the company. And this is what I probably, how we can finish that thought is data before feelings. You have budget to test it and to experiment with if it's worth signing up with the PR agency or doing some kind of work in PR for your business. If you have the budget to test it with, sure, go ahead. I have no problem with that. The main thing is track it. Make sure that after a month or 2 or 3, you can actually look at it and understand, okay, I spent this much money because digital PR agencies, they're not cheap. We have looked into them ourselves at some point. We wanted to hire somebody. And after just running the numbers, it made no sense. Just track everything and then look at the data, trust the data. Don't get sold. That's another rule of mine. So because it sounds nice and good, it doesn't mean that you have to use that product or service.
Okay. So what about your tips and proven strategies to get valuable backlinks?
Content marketing. That's a giant umbrella in a short, concise way. What it is, create great content that looks at the problems from a different angle that nobody else looked at before, provide extreme value, extremely high value. And that content over time, the more content and value you provide, it will get picked up, it will get distributed, it will get quoted and linked to. Basically, the idea is like, what is a backlink? If you think about it, it's somebody else out there on the world of the internet saying, that guy's good, go read that. And who in the world would say that if the content that you do has no value? It has to be that good. The reason viral videos exist is because everybody is kind of like, oh, go look at that. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. That's interesting. That's funny, whatever it is. In the world of business, it has to follow the same recipe where the content is providing value to folks on the internet. So there you go.
How do you find a unique angle? What do you guys have a process for doing that?
There's no process per se. Now, I am weird myself. I have a lot of unpopular opinions. And I actually just did a talk at LevaCon in San Diego, funnily enough. And it was more AI related, so the chat GPTs and stuff like that. But the answer really is the same. The commandment or the rule that I came up with was make them go, what? So that's my idea. If somebody writes something like, wait, what? That doesn't sound right, or that sounds not normal. Let me go check it out. It's that innate curiosity in people. So either it sounds weird or unusual or something that you have not heard before, and you're just going to go check it out. And as long as the content is good, then you're going to stay there and maybe share with your friends and coworkers and teammates, so on. My thought is that in order to create great content, you have to have experience and be great at what you do first. When you have an opinion that's truly yours only, then you start creating content that is just looking at a problem or question from a different angle through your lens of experience or experiences.
So I'd love that you talk about the subject matter expert being the one that's contributing to the article, because that is so important. I think it shows through being generic versus being able to give like anecdotal experiences. I think that really is a differentiator. But if we were to talk about like actual elements on a page that make the piece of content better than something else, do you have any tips about that?
No, it doesn't matter, to be honest, because there are people that consume content in different way. And I myself prefer videos. But then when I talk to my teammates and they say that they prefer to read the text. So I could say, make sure that there's videos, but then somebody else will say, I don't like videos. I prefer reading because it's at my own pace. Or maybe some folks prefer infographics or images or whatever. So it's to each their own. Obviously, I guess you could kill multiple birds with multiple stones. It's going to be one stone, multiple birds. It's going to be multiple stones, multiple birds. If you can create a content that has videos and images and infographics and text, sure. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of effort, but that could work.
The multiple stone method.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
If a local business or any business wants to work with your company, do you want to share like who you work with and who might be a good fit?
Yeah, for sure. So we work with two types of companies: home service companies, any service, home service that there's out there. And then along our journey as a company, we are fortunate to be in a position where we can start to pave our own path, and it's time to give back. So our goal for 2024 is to start working with companies that are basically affecting the world in a positive way from the perspective of environment. Green stuff. From products to services, anything, but it has to be true. And saying that we are a green company and then you look at them and they're oil and gas company. Yeah, probably not. But yeah, home services or green companies, because I want my kid to have a world, or grandkids to have a world to live in 50 years and not be in the world from Lorax. If you know that movie animation.
Oh, yes. Yeah. How bad can it be? We sing the songs over here all the time.
Air in the bottle. Air in the bottle.
One last question before you go, because the industry that you serve is actually the industry that my family is in. They own lawn care businesses. And so I was just wondering, because you're here and I love them, do you have any tips for them in terms of best practices in 2024?
Start with data, of course. Make sure that everything is trackable and understand which of the channels are most profitable for you. And then start dabbling, experimenting with 5 to 10% of your marketing budget with channels that you have not explored yet. One of the greatest examples of lawn care marketing specifically, and I forgot the name of the YouTube channel, but I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh,
The dude that goes around and does yards for free. And something tells me he is not in lawn care anymore. He's in YouTube video production at this point. He could have just kept doing, I don't know if he does, but he could have continued lawn business and produce those videos once a month or whatever, get a bunch of views, promote the name. There you go. So yeah, I'd have to spend another week talking about specific strategies and examples and whatever else, but it just breaking everything by channel, understanding where the leads are coming from, where they're the cheapest leads, the best leads, and doubling down on that and then starting experimenting.
awesome. Dimitrii, it was so nice to meet you. And I hope that this connects you with some of those service providers that align with your mission. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time.